Welcome, and thank you all for coming to the third event of our Film Nevada Workshop series. My name is Kim Spurgeon. I am the director of the Nevada Film Office. And today, thank you. And today's workshop will be focused on navigating independent filmmaking, and we'll be talking about producing, directing, and distribution. And I think what I love most about today's workshop is that the panelists are all based right here in Las Vegas. Thank you. And I'm really excited for you to become familiar with their work and also learn from their experiences. Our office has put in a lot of work and effort to make this event an informative one, and I hope you all find it beneficial. Our office putting in a lot of hard work, I really mean Danette. So without further ado, let me introduce the moderator of today's panel, Deputy Director of the Nevada Film Office, Danette Tull.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you all for being here. I'm really excited about the panel that we are going to have. As Kim mentioned, it's going to be all about independent filmmaking, soup to nuts, from your vision to getting it to an audience. So everything from financing, what to do in production, what do you do when the film is made, distribution, all those questions. It's a lot of topics to cover in the short time that we have. There will be a brief Q&A at the end. And with that, we're going to get started, and I'm going to introduce our panelists. J.D. Beaufils is a seasoned film executive with over 2 decades of experience in global film sales, financing, and distribution. He began his career in 1999, quickly gaining experience in international sales and managing a diverse catalog of films. Over the years, he has played key roles in financing, pre-sales, and distribution, adapting to industry shifts and the rise of digital platforms. In 2014, J.D. became president of sales at VMI Worldwide Financing and licensing a wide range of independent films. In 2023, he launched Blacktop International, an independent film company based in Las Vegas, quickly gaining recognition for its acquisitions and original productions. A dedicated advocate for independent film, J.D. has previously served on the board of Independent Film and Television Alliance. Splitting his time between California, Las Vegas, and Paris, he continues to blend creative vision with business strategy in the global film industry. Welcome, J.D.
Thank you.
Ron Ray, with 35 years in Hollywood and Bollywood, as the driving force behind RR Film Production, alongside his wife, Michelle Ray, who's here down front. He financed, produced, and distributed the critically acclaimed Netflix original Trees of Peace in 2022. The film, which premiered in 191 countries, earned multiple prestigious awards and launched numerous careers in Hollywood. Beyond Trees of Peace, RR has acted in global hits like Kites, produced a range of projects, and built a strong industry ties with top agencies and studios. His unique blend of artistic vision and business acumen makes him a powerhouse in independent filmmaking, shaping the future of storytelling across industries. Thanks for being here, Ron.
Thank you.
Now we're going to introduce Kirk Roos. Originally from North Dakota, Kirk Roos has been working in Hollywood, his words, 25 years as an actor, writer, and producer. He's helped launch multiple new film companies, including Northern Lights, Badlands, Heartstrings, and newly formed Profound Studios. His most recent movie, Faith of Angels, starring John Michael Finley and directed by Garrett Batty, was distributed theatrically nationwide last year and has since become available on streaming services through Angel Studios. This past year, he also produced Santa's Cousin, a Christmas romantic comedy directed by Ross Kagan Marks, featuring Jonathan Stoddard and Alexandra Harris, with Eric Roberts portraying Santa Claus, now streaming on Apple TV and other streaming platforms. He's a frequent guest speaker at festivals, universities, and conferences. Starting as an actor, Kirk enjoys a balance of creative and business ventures. Last introduction, then we'll get into it. Sav Rodgers. Originally from Kansas, Sav Rodgers is a filmmaker, screenwriter, and pop culture documentarian whose feature debut, Chasing Amy, explores the complicated legacy of Chasing Amy, the movie Chasing Amy, and its profound impression on his life. The TED Talk he gave in 2018 kick-started his filmmaking journey and spurred the writing of scripts that center on highly specific, surprising stories about queer people. His screenplays have been recognized by GLAAD, Outfest, Screencraft, among others. Named to Forbes 30 Under 30 media list in 2024, Sav is also the founder and executive director of the Transgender Film Center, a nonprofit aiming to help trans creators bring finished films to audiences around the world. Additionally, Sav works as the marketing director at Seed and Spark, the world's most successful crowdfunding platform for independent film. He's a proud University of Kansas graduate and still sports the KU baseball caps wherever he goes, just not today. Okay, let's go for the unscripted. I hated all that. Okay, let's get into it. So opening question for everyone. We'll just go in order. How did you get started in the film business, and how long have you been living in Nevada?
So I moved to Los Angeles in 1997 from Minnesota, and with the goal of working either in movies or in music. So I worked in restaurants for 3 years. And finally, the internet was invented. I went on a website called showbizjobs.com. There was a film company position open, part-time, $7 an hour, sending Betacam tapes and 35mm reels to distributors around the world. And that's how I got my foot in the door. Within 3 months, I got a gig as a coordinator, reporting to the VP of International Sales for the film company. Called Overseas Film Group. That was a kind of a big independent back in the day. And worked my way up to director, vice president, and president of sales companies.
And how long in Nevada, did you say that?
Oh, Nevada, we on and off for the last 8 years as a second home from Los Angeles, and full-time 18 months. And and during COVID, like probably 2 years of COVID, because I didn't have to go to an office in LA, which was pretty cool.
Awesome. Your turn. Ron, how did you start in the business, and how long in Nevada?
I've been in Las Vegas almost 28 years. So this is home for me. So my journey started as an actor when I was 15, and as I got older, something strange started happening. I would go to an audition, and they would look at me, and they'd be like, I'm actually Indian from India. But I would show up at an audition to audition for the Indian guy, and they would like, you can't audition. I said, why not? You look Mexican, Italian, Latin, you don't look Indian. I said, okay, are you auditioning for a Mexican guy? He goes, yeah, one of our second leads is Mexican. I said, great. I speak 5 languages. I speak fluent Spanish. Let me audition for that. Yeah, but you told us you're Indian. We want authentic Mexican. So as this kept happening, I said, okay, well, if they're not going to let me in through the door, I'm going to build the door in the house. So then I basically taught myself how to do A to Z, everything from running camera, color correcting, editing, everything. And I basically started a production company in 2005. I've done 26 shorts, 30 music videos, commercials. I've acted in big movies, which is a Bollywood movie, and then I've done TV. But I became more of a director. And as I was getting ready to, I already had financing. I was getting ready to direct my own feature. I ran into this young lady on Instagram. Her name is Alana Brown, and she's been trying to make this movie for 7 years. Nobody would finance. When I read the script, I was blown away, and I also knew this is an Oscar-winning script, and nobody's going to let her direct it. She's only done one short film. She has no experience. So my wife, Michelle Ray, she's sitting right there in the front in the pink jacket, who's my better half. We actually took my financing and went in and produced and literally did A to Z of that. And it was a 3-year journey. And then, you know, most indie films don't make money. And our film actually did make money. And it was a very hard journey, but I was able to sell the movie personally to Netflix.
I'm gonna put a pin real quick. I don't mean to interrupt, but we're gonna cover that in a minute. So this is basically, you started being an actor, and you're Indian, and they mistook you for a bunch of stuff, and then your journey is like crazy, but we're going to get into that later.
Okay.
So if we could just move right on to Kirk.
Go for it.
Really quickly, how did you get started, and how long have you been in Nevada?
I moved to Las Vegas 9 months ago.
Welcome.
I was in LA off and on for 25 years. Prior to that, I'm from North Dakota originally. I started as an actor as well. I was doing musical theater in the Midwest and just drove in my Nissan Sentra in 1996 to LA with a dream. And I got lucky the first time, like booked something in a SAG, got my SAG card the first few months I was in LA.
Thank you, SAG-AFTRA.
I thought it was going to be easy. I had no idea what a producer was. That came later in my career. But I learned by doing kind of what you said, and a lot of us actors were just trying to put things together. And really that was what we learned. Producing is not just the money, it's making things happen and putting things together and coordinating. And in theater, I had that experience. So I fell into that somewhere in my mid-30s. And here we are now.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome to the Silver State. Last, we have Sav, who's been here a while, and we've been trying to connect this long about plugging him into the industry and how does he meet people and this kind of thing. And this right now today is the first time we've been able to do that. So how long have you been in Nevada, Sav?
I've been in Nevada since May 2022. But my work so often takes me out of town that this is my first opportunity getting to connect with the industry here. So, hi, nice to meet you. I'm about 10 years into my career in film. It really started when I was 12. I saw Kevin Smith's film Chasing Amy as a closeted queer trans kid in suburban Kansas, and I thought this is the most boring place alive. I thought anything else must happen interesting elsewhere, right? And so, but this movie also saved my life as I was dealing with a lot of homophobic and transphobic harassment at school, and so this was my life raft for years. But it also taught me that filmmaking is a vocation. It is a thing that I can do. I can participate in this process that means so much to me. So from there, I just started writing stories as a kid. Eventually, I went to the University of Kansas Film School, which is more of a film program where I really taught that you kind of have to be scrappy as an independent filmmaker to get your story told. And it was at KU Film School that I started as a production assistant. I worked my way up to being a first AD, and it was there that the seeds of making Chasing Amy were first formed, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, a lot on this panel, which took 6.5 years to make. And so just so you know, 10 years to make my first feature, but all worth it because it's all cumulative and it all builds up, and I'm excited to talk with all of you about it today.
Thank you. So as a follow-up to your history and what you just said, I'm going to ask each of you, do you think a film degree is necessary to be becoming successful in this industry?
Absolutely not. What a film degree can do, besides, introduce concepts of filmmaking 101, is that it gives you something powerful in an alumni network. So what does that mean? It means anywhere in the world, if I go somewhere and I say I went to the University of Kansas and somebody else is like, Rock Jock Jayhawk, right? How are the Jayhawks doing this year for basketball? We are instantly friends. I had my first experience shadowing a TV director this year on a half-hour sitcom, and it's because the showrunner went to the University of Kansas and took an interest in me when I was a student and has been really supportive of my career ever since. So the big lesson there, in my opinion, is have as many reasons to meet people as possible. You don't have to go to film school to be successful, but it does give you a built-in friend group and opportunities to connect with other people, which is what all of you are doing here today. So take what's useful, leave the rest.
Kirk, what do you think? And no offense to anyone here that's in film school. Everybody's journey is different. So if you want to just piggyback onto the answer with, if you did go to film school, and I think you answered it, what are the benefits of doing so? And I think you did answer that. So
I agree, you don't need a film degree. It's great, though, if you're going to be a DP or an artist dealing with specifics. But I meet hedge fund managers that are producers. And so it just depends on what side of the industry you want to be in. But I think just learning as much as you can and constantly learning is the education you need. It's a very unique business where you don't need a degree to be in the industry. I had a theater degree in college, but later in life I went back and got my master's in business, which blew my mind. I had no idea that I could do that. I was a C student in high school, but in business I thought it was all over my head, and I got straight A's, but I was in my 30s and I was taking it more seriously. The balance of creative and business understanding for me is what you need to survive in the industry.
Ron?
You absolutely don't need a film school degree, but it helps. It's network. Your network is your net worth. And I didn't go to film school. And it's funny, he said hedge fund manager. I actually been a professional money manager on Wall Street for 28 years now. And it helps. It really helps you become a better producer. It helps you understanding how to raise financing, what the other person's thinking, how to position things to them. Look, school is what you make of it. Some people go to school and they come out and they become Sean Baker. And then there's people like me, Alana Brown. We didn't go to film school. Alana, just my director, she just finished a $15 million movie. Tyler Perry produced it, and Netflix is putting it out, distributing it. So you don't need a film degree, but it's what you make of it. Michelle and I taught ourselves how to do A to Z at University of YouTube. So.
JD, what are your thoughts on that? And also, he didn't tell you, but he started off as a background extra, correct, JD?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want to say, and that he learned that he did absolutely not want to do that as part of his career. So sometimes you got to try something and realize you hate it before you take the path that he took. And I had to call him out on that because I thought it was hilarious. But what do you think about film school, JD?
Well, it is a little bit like film school, because the reason why I did that is I wanted to be on set and I wanted to watch how they were making movies. So I was an extra for a year, and then I became a PA, and then I realized that I didn't want to work in production because I thought it was pretty boring to be on set for 16 hours or whatnot. That wasn't for me. But to go back to film school, the University of Minnesota, when I moved to the US, I took some film classes, and I mean, it wasn't school, it was just like pure joy to listen to professors talk about film and write about film and watch movies and all that stuff. So I think it had a really big impact on me. And I didn't think it was going to be part of my profession or whatnot. And then when I moved to LA and I got that servicing gig part-time, I realized like the VP of sales was going to do a lecture at UCLA that was organized as a part of an extension class with an LA attorney called Greg Bernstein, 8 classes. And first class, second class, he pretty much showed like there was a job out there where you like travel the world, talk about movies, seal deals. And for the first time in my life at age 29, I was like, that's what I want to do. So it was not film school, but it was extension classes. And at that time, they were not teaching you the business of film. It was like there was no such classes. So I think it really helped. So in terms of like technical stuff, like my fantasies, I would dream of like going to AFI and be a David Lynch or whatnot. But and I think that's the people who make it to AFI and become like great artists. It's probably great school and USC and all that. I don't have any opinion. I think you can make it without film school. I think you can make it with film school. So that's all.
Yeah, it's like my mom says, no education is ever wasted. Look at me. I'm doing here something that have nothing to do with what I studied. Anyhow, question on everyone's mind, and this is an independent filmmaking panel, and so independent filmmakers, it's a lot of passion and very little to low budget. So how do you balance that artistic vision with little to no budget? How do you do something like that, Sav?
Yeah, that's a super easy question. I think budget can be helpful in terms of having a creative parameter. So what do I mean by that? There's never enough money to make a movie. You always want more to do X, Y, or Z thing. But I find that working with the budget you have or trying to be hands-on as a fundraiser can actually help breed new creative ideas that better suit your project, right? And so you can always work within your budget to do something that's creative, to stretch the form. You can look at works that have inspired you in the past and try to figure out, well, how did they do something? Money is not always the solution to a creative endeavor. And so, for me, what I do well and what has helped attract financiers to my work is that I can speak about the thing I want to make that's really specific with precision, and I know exactly what I want to use the money for. I do the homework ahead of time before I'm having conversations with people who are stakeholders in terms of finance, but also before you do something like a crowdfunding campaign. I know exactly before I ask you for money what I want that money for. And so I'm not just throwing out theoretical numbers of like, well, I need 100,000 to do this. No, I know what department needs how much money. I know what I need to get the heads of department that I want. So in that way, everything is pre-production, everything is prep work. And so Jessica Chastain said one time that like everybody gets lucky once. You just have to be prepared for it. You can get lucky a lot if you were really prepared and you do that work ahead of time. And so there's no easy answer on like, how do I get money? How do I raise money? It's a combination of things. So something that like I said, I'm skilled at is talking about my work persuasively. So that lends itself to writing grant applications and saying why I should get this money and somebody else shouldn't. Why I can ask for money on crowdfunding and say, this is the project I want to make and why. But also when I do meet somebody with deep pockets who wants to be involved in a creative process, I know how to invite them into the process in a way that, you know, has boundaries for me as a filmmaker, but makes them feel really good and that their money is protected. And also, I'm not begging people to work with them if they don't want to work with me, which I think is like it's a really important lesson right out of the gate, is not everybody is for you and for your project, but it's about trying to meet as many people as possible who could be for you and your project. All of these people are really nice up here. I don't know if I'll ever make a movie with them, but I'm certainly open to it. But I'm also not gonna shape my film to be something that isn't what it is, because then nobody's gonna be happy with this product. So if I happen to approach any of these people in the future, it'll be geared towards whatever they do up here. And so it's making sure that you're pitching to the right people at the right time and making sure that your goals overlap with theirs. And that's it's a loaded question, and it's a loaded answer, but unfortunately it is all 100% true.
I love the answer, but I'm gonna phrase it differently to get a different answer out of Kirk a little bit. So how do you leverage your networks and the people you know to secure access to locations and equipment and talent on a low, no budget film?
I'll try to answer that. I'll dovetail a
For
little
sure,
bit
go back and answer
off of
the
that.
first question.
Yeah. I agree. Your investors, you know, they're going to vet you, but you should also vet them to make sure it's a good fit. You're probably going to be working together for a couple years. How to leverage those things on a low budget. I always say go back to the script, and if you are on a low budget, make something appropriate. If you're making your dream project that should be 5 or 10 million, but you're going to try to make it for 100 grand, maybe it's time to wait and make something. So simple locations, simple script, very few scenes, focus in on the story, tell a good story, and then start there. And then collaboration, work with the people that are like-minded and have the similar goals. And then as you're building that team, you'll find that DPs will bring their gear, or other people will bring other sources. What I like to do is, sometimes I'm a writer, sometimes I'm a producer, right? So as a producer, I try to help filmmakers sort of reverse engineer. Let's look at what we think the market is, what we think the value is, and then start attaching other pieces so that by the time we go to the investors, we've mitigated the risk as much as possible, and we can defend our vision on it. So I'm an advocate, big advocate of go make your film for whatever budget it is, but also graduate after that. Because if you want to make a living at this, low budget movies is not that easy. And then it's hard to sell them as well. So
If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be successful at it. So, Ron, what do you think about low, no budget? I mean, you've worked on a couple projects as director, producer.
Well, since this is an indie film forum, I'm going to go back in the day when I started. So my first film, short film I did was $4,500 budget, and the last short film I did was $50 budget. I went backwards. I kept lowering the budget. Because what I wanted to become really good at is taking $100 and make it look like $1,000. If you can do that, then you learn how to tell a cinematic story. It doesn't cost a lot of money. I can take an iPhone and shoot someone right here with this lighting and make it look cinematic. So budget is what you make of it. There's, like he said, there's never enough money. But if your imagination is there, you can make anything happen. So if I were sitting over there starting today, I tell everybody, take an iPhone, go make a 30-second film. Do A to Z of that 30-second or 1-minute film. If you know how to do that, you can do a 30-minute film, a 1-hour film. The process is the same. And then you build your tribe along the way. You know, you find people, he's a great DP, hey, come work with me, sound engineer, come work with me. You build your team and you go with it. That's the secret to independent filmmaking, because there's never enough money.
Do you have anything to add, JD, to that?
On the low to no budget films, I would say something so a bit cynical, but like, I really love low budget films because the less you spend, the less you lose. The other thing is just like went through my head, like an example, a couple of movies I picked up for worldwide sales a few months ago. One of them, great concept, director that had done a lot of cool shorts that were at genre film festivals. And I loved the film, negotiated the rights, and the producer was very transparent about how much he had spent on the film. I'm going to make it up but let's say the horror film cost $250 to make, $250,000, and the other one was $750, and I was like, great, because they're seasoned producer. They know that they don't need to spend more than that to make a movie that can be successful and recoup the investment of the investors. So that's always like, yes, there's not going to be like huge headaches where they're going to have to report to an investor and be like, oh, you know that $1 million that you put towards the movie, you're never going to see it ever again. So that's I love low budget, but the skills. You need the skills. You need to make something that looks good. So, and talent is, you can have talent and you can learn the skills, but if you're going to make something for 30 grand that looks crappy, it's like, that's not worth it, obviously.
So a follow-up to that, I'll just go in reverse order. What are the most effective ways to secure funding, and what sources, like grants, crowdfunding, investors, would you recommend? JD?
That's not really my domain, because
Passer?
no, like it's like for financing. I mean, my background is like pre-sales, meaning that putting together a package where I can go to that's in place and go to distributors and tell them to pre-buy my movie. So they find it attractive. The movie's not made yet, but they put a certain amount of money against it. So that's how I get my financing. That's 75%, 80% of my track record. Otherwise, go make friends with high net worth individuals you have stuff in common with. Do not come to me and say, hey, I have a script. Can you find me some money? Go to the people who already have the money.
That's smart.
That's it.
Ron, what do you think?
So look, there's the conventional method, right? You can go do foreign sales and all this stuff, but that doesn't apply to most people because you can't get access to a star. Most people don't really have a track record to get foreign sales. So I'm going to tell you from day one how I was profitable. So when I did my first short film, the HD revolution was just starting. I went and bought a Sony Z1U camera that had just come out it cost me $7,400. I put it on my credit card. I shot my first short film with it. I rented it out in Hollywood, and every month I was getting a check from $3,000 to $5,000. And that literally and I gave my cinematographer a cut who was renting it out for me, and that camera made me about 60 grand. And then I sold the camera for 2 grand, bought a new camera that came out for 11 grand, Panasonic, it was a Panasonic, and David Beckham paid me 10 grand for a 1-week rental. And I went on to make another 60 grand, 70 grand. And what I did with that money is, 1, I financed my shorts. 2, I built the entire studio. I bought cameras, editing system, lights, jibs, everything. So that's how I would go about how to finance a low budget film.
That's resourceful and innovative. I love that. What about you, Kirk? What's your favorite way?
It's interesting. We have so many parallels. I had the Sony PD-150, and I was very excited about that. And then later on had a Red camera. But yeah, that's a great resource in the low budget. But to go back to there's grants and stuff out there that's challenging. If you're lucky to get a pre-sale from a reputable foreign sales agent, those can be, you can borrow money against those. There are companies that will lend you that money against that. Same with tax rebates, tax credits. Our company currently is doing loans against some of those positions. That gets all complicated at times. But in the low budget world, I like the thing you said, Danette, about make friends with high net value people. What I try to do when I'm meeting people who are fortunate enough to, they can invest in a movie, is to really make sure it gets back to the customer is always right or the client's always right. What do you want to do? I would never pitch them something that I don't know they already have an interest in. And a project I did earlier in my career, someone hired us, my company, to develop and write a hockey script because they love hockey. I'm not going to turn around and go, you know what you should do is finance my softball movie instead. And so kind of make sure it gets back to make sure they are part of your vision and vice versa. And then, yeah, pull out your credit card. Do it yourself. Be willing to take the risk yourself on the first couple times. Who else is going to believe in you? If you do that, you earn a lot of street cred having financed your own film at even whatever level, $10,000 short film. A lot of other producers are going to go, okay, you're for real, instead of asking for money from other people.
Yeah, I mean, I want Sap to talk about your experience in your early filmmaking days and also to plug what Seed and Spark is and what do they do?
Yeah, so right now I think we're all talking up here like everybody in the audience is going to make a feature film right away. There's no pre-sales basically that exist for most movies right now, let alone like your first short film or anything like that. So I'm going to try to talk from a global perspective of like, what is the market right now, which is bad, but also like what can you do with the resources that you have? So pre-sales are great if you have like a star attached, but odds are you might not have a star attached. So in the early days of like making my own short films, it was really like community based, where I was getting together with my local community and saying, hey, this is what I'm interested in doing. What are you interested in doing? And trying to like build coalitions together. And so ideally, every single person in this room has a different perspective, has a different skill set that can ideally be complementary. Maybe not everybody's going to work together in this room, but this is a good place to start. And so for your first short film, figuring out where does the money come from is going to come from a handful of different ideas and sources. Please don't lay down your credit card in this economy to fund your passion project and, you know, spend $30,000 on this. The independent film dream that I think we've all been sold, a la Kevin Smith, Michael Moore, Spike Lee, Robert Rodriguez, that exists where they got to become studio filmmakers right after making their first feature. That happened for 9 people 30 years ago. And so that's not happening for us, even if you do everything right in this climate. And so what can you do? So I work at a crowdfunding website called Seed and Spark. Seed and Spark is the most successful crowdfunding website for independent filmmakers. So I know everyone's like, oh, I don't want to ask people for money. That's hard. I hate that. This is the benefit of crowdfunding. And this is what I'm going to tell you as somebody who has had to crowdfund kicking and screaming, but also recognizes that it can be an effective, sustainable model, is that you are basically going to your audience who would want to see the film that you are making and saying, hi, I'm making this film. I think you're the audience for it. Would you like to help me make it? And then so you are crowdsourcing through a number of ways, right? So crowdsourcing can come from a multitude of ways that isn't just cash money. You can go to somebody with a camera package and say, hi, I'm looking to shoot on this weekend. You have a camera package. Would you be willing to give us a discount for this camera package? Or would you be able to loan this camera package if I can have proof of insurance or something like that? So you're going to your community, you're banding together, you're putting together resources, and you're trying to create a sustainable ecosystem where everybody can succeed. And that is the only way as independent filmmakers that we can actually win, is if we try to do it together, lock arms, and to say, hi, the cavalry's not coming, quoting Mark Duplass there, the cavalry's not coming, but we can be here for each other. And so what makes Seed and Spark different? We don't take a platform fee. So we're not taking a percentage of your money if you crowdfund with us. That's the benefit to Seed and Spark. There's also like creator rewards and like cool stuff that's on there. I'm happy to talk about that later if you want. But you know, it's like Kickstarter, it's like Indiegogo, except we don't take a percentage of your hard-earned money that you fundraise. That is the difference. So you can also look at grants. Grants can be helpful. I don't know how much longer federal
I was just
funding.
going to say, I'm not sure what's going on with that topic right now, but I mean, yeah.
So as somebody who runs an arts nonprofit, apply to stuff now while it still exists. A lot of us are waking up every day and checking if we still have rights. The same thing happens for public funding. So check out things like ITVS, check out your local arts nonprofit, see what the state of Nevada can offer, see what the federal government can offer, see what, insert marginalized demographic, nonprofit can offer. Filmmaking is a team sport, so even if you don't qualify, maybe somebody on your team can qualify. So just practice writing about yourself persuasively, and that is your best shot at finding money as you are starting out as a filmmaker. I promise it can work. It's a lot of work, but every single part of this process is a ton of work. Sorry for talking so long, but that's my soapbox.
You're good, thank you. No, it was really good feedback. And I love something that came up here a couple of different times throughout this panel so far, is the idea of collaboration and in-kind trades. There's so many people that come to the office and say, I really want this location, but I have this specific thing in mind, but I don't know if I have a budget for it or whatever. And I say, well, what's the location? Well, it's a coffee shop. I'm giving you an example. All right, where do you get coffee? And I'm like, well, what about that coffee shop? Like, why don't you go there and approach the locations with people that you know, and then barter, see what you can offer each other, like, hey, I'm willing to make a commercial or a PSA or whatever it is for your business in trade for you letting me shoot here on Saturday. I mean, there's ways to go around doing things. Ask him. I get stuff all the time by doing this stuff for the office because we have no budget. That's a different panel. But anyhow, just keep that in your mind. We're going to shifting gears right now into producing. I'm going to go down this way. JD, I'm going to call on you because you've been producer a couple of times. What is the role of producer? Can you speak to that?
More of an executive producer,
Okay,
not
well,
much.
What does a producer need to succeed, and when, let's just go into it from your perspective.
What does a producer need to succeed? Work really hard. Make friends, be nice to everybody, and learn the craft of producing, which is, as an executive producer, it's more about, the money angle of things. But I want to defer to.
What is the
because I think
role
it's
of an
more of a-
indie producer, and what skills should people have?
I speak at different universities like UCLA, USC, UNLV, other schools. I always start my speech with this, and this actually sums up a producer. People don't fail because they lack resources. People fail because they lack resourcefulness. That's the most important part about being a producer. You have to be resourceful. Everything else is secondary. Whether you're a creative producer, whether you're a line producer, executive producer. Now, let me explain. People don't understand what is a producer. Well, executive producer conventionally is somebody who's bringing the money, but that's not always the case. It's interchangeable. In TV, executive producer is actually the showrunner who wrote the pilot or created the show, and they have all the power. Whereas typically in movies, a producer who put the project together has the most power. The person who was produced by and PGA. Sometimes people that don't deserve get these credits, but typically it's one person that takes the ball from day one, finds the script, everyone gets it optioned, creates the LLC, hires all the department head, brings the executive producers on board, and then ultimately finishes the physical shooting and then delivers the movie and sells the movie. So typically that's a producer who gets a produced by title, which most people don't realize. Because you look at a movie, and we were talking about this earlier, there's like 17 or 20 producers. And then you look at it and you go, everybody's claiming I made the movie. Well, how do you know who made the movie, right? And that's a real sham in the industry. A lot of people take credit for things they don't know. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit over, but this is kind of important. So you really have to do your homework to find out who really knows how to make the movie, who knows A to Z of how to do it. But most important quality in a producer is you have to be resourceful. You have to be kind to people in your network.
JD, do you have something to
Back
add?
because I totally failed on the last answer, because I didn't realize we could turn it around, and because I deal with producers 3, 4, 5 times a day. So from the other
Exactly
perspective.
what I mean, from your
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah.
What
So
does the producer need to succeed?
producers, then, because they can be very myopic about the movie they're making. It's a bit of a joke, but they should listen to the sales agent when it comes to the marketing of the film, when it comes to the film itself. Like right now I'm dealing with a couple of pictures where what I'm being delivered is a movie, in one case that's like 2 hours and 5 minutes long, in another case 2 hours, and there's a better movie in there. But the producer, and sometimes alongside the director, because it's usually the director's vision, are like, no, you don't understand. Like, the people are going to want to see that movie. They need the 25 minutes where nothing happens in the beginning to really get into it. And so I'm I'm Mr. Scissorhands. Like, no, it's like, I'm the bad guy.
I'm the dream killer. If it makes, so I kill
the
people's
dream
dreams all day
killer,
long,
dream
and they
crusher,
tell me
dream
what they
crusher.
want to do.
We
Yeah,
call the dream
get
crusher
it.
ones. And also marketing, because I think, with all due respect, most producers don't know anything. I think most people don't know anything about marketing in general. I didn't know about marketing for years. I didn't understand what it meant. And now it's my favorite part of the job.
I think most producers don't know much about distribution. It's
And distribution.
We're gonna
of
go.
course,
Stay
and
in order.
distribution,
Stay in order. Stay in order. We're on card number 2. That we're still doing role of the
No, that's
producer.
it. That's
We're
it.
gonna
That's
get
it. I
there.
just wanted to
No, you're right. And Kirk, I just want you to add onto that, not only what a successful producer needs, the skill set, but to just reiterate what Ron was saying about the difference between a producer and an investor. I do think there is some confusion.
Yeah, I am going to give you an analogy. I grew up in a small town in North Dakota. My grandparents were farmers. I could walk a mile to get out to the farm. That's how close I lived out there. And Grandma would say, you see Grandpa out in the field, he's the producer, but I'm the executive producer. And that she told me that even into my 30s, we would talk about this. And here's the point. What seed to plant that year? What 40 acres or section are you going to put which crops in? What is trending in the market right now? When you are a farmer and you're doing it all on your own, you're getting it from A to Z. And when you take barley to the market and everyone's buying flax, you've made the wrong, it's not time for that. So understanding the market is important, and understanding marketing and distribution. And when you know that, you can go back and decide, okay, next spring, let's plant a different crop. What is the difference between an executive producer and a producer? Usually executive producer has something to do with finance or other traded services like marketing or other consulting. The producer, I see that as the person who's going to really acquire the intellectual property, maybe develop it from scratch, and get it to the market. And then the reason sometimes you want more producers is because you can't do it all yourself, and you probably shouldn't. So a producer's delegating. I think the best thing you can do is hire people better than yourself. Hire people that have experience in other places that you lack. And if you're hiring good people, you're going to be a good producer. You're going to get it to the finish line. And then finally, budget. A current trend right now, like you say, there's hardly any pre-sales. The distribution is challenging. So I always say put marketing money and advertising money in your actual budget. Treat your film like a business. It's very hard to go make your movie for $1 million with no perspective on what the market's actually buying. And then when you're done, go try to find a distributor to give you more than $1 million. Someone said this, there's a good chance you're going to lose all your money on an indie film. So if you don't know that in advance, think about supply and demand. In any other business, a lot of times you don't really start a business unless you know there's a demand for it. But for some reason in film, we're crossing over into arts. So you can paint whatever painting you want, but it's only worth what somebody's going to give you for it when you're done. So just be aware of that. And I think it gets back to producer is sort of more of a physical manager of the whole process. An executive producer is probably an investor or somebody you gave an executive producer credit in trade of something.
Do they ever overlap? Is the executive producer also the producer at times?
Sometimes. Can I add something? So, for example, we have a common friend, Viviana, from Third Point Capital. So she gets executive producer credit in all the movies that they actually finance the tax credit Viviana is a very dear friend of my wife and I, and Danette knows her really well. Now, if you approach her and say, hey, will you help me produce this movie? She actually doesn't know how to physically produce a movie, but she's an expert when it comes to how to finance your tax credits from different states and what to do with gap financing and things like that. So before you approach a producer or executive producer, understand what they do and approach them with that. I just thought that would be a good.
Yeah. Asab, do you have anything to add about?
A producer gets the job done by any means necessary that's ethical and safe.
And drop your bike. All right, perfect. No, awesome.
I also just wanted to share a resource. Seed and Spark put together something, if you're interested in learning more about the current distribution landscape that is updated on a quarterly basis. It's called the Distribution Playbook. It is everything that an independent filmmaker needs to know about the current state of distribution. It's in partnership with Kinema, and you can find it at thedistributionplaybook.com. So it'll take you about 90 minutes to walk yourself through it the first time. I recommend going through it twice. Any questions that you may have about distribution can ideally be answered in there, and you're welcome to send me an email. My card's out in the lobby.
Awesome. Last question on physical production, and then we're gonna switch gears. So this one is just challenges that you've had on set / cautionary tales / lessons that you've learned during physical production. I'm sure there are many, 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 but if you can pick one, do you want me to start the opposite way, Sav, or are you able to answer it now?
I think the biggest problems that ever come on set is because the team is not aligned, right? So when you're putting together your team, those are some of the most important choices that you can make. Make sure that you're aligned on your goals, what you want the outcome to be, what's the hierarchy, who's got the final decision, who, what, when, where, why, right? Have those questions answered, be as thorough in pre-production as you can, and do your best to make sure that everybody's ego is killed before you step onto set. Because any project that you have that you're solving problems on set is costing you time, which is invaluable. And even worse, when you're an independent filmmaker, money. Money that you probably don't have. So putting together your team, who is making decisions, who is involved, whose name is on the movie. These are important decisions not to take lightly. Be kind, be generous always. But also, if somebody's given you a bad gut feeling, they might not be the collaborator for you. And that is a killer in independent film.
I love that. It's beautiful advice. Kirk, what are your war stories?
Oh,
Just your favorite, your best war story.
I thought about that question all week, and there's too many, maybe in the lobby afterwards. Have a contingency in place. What if it rains one day? You might lose 30 grand just standing around waiting for it to not rain. So have in your budget, rainy day funds, or a backup plan, like maybe we don't have to shoot outside today, and think ahead and plan and be prepared. Again, maybe some of you are about to go shoot a short film for $5 grand, and that's all you have, and that's good. But it's still about being prepared for the backup plan. That's all I got on this one. I tap out.
Well, I mean, the horror stories, I could write a book and it would be this thick. I think all of us could. We were just talking backstage, Kirk and I, and there's a lot of people that pretend like they know what they're doing and they won the title, and then you get in the war and you realize they've been lying. And then, for example, I had an incident. We're shooting our movie 6K full frame, and they allocated $1,000 for hard drive. If you know anything about, when you, and at the last second, I had to go cut a deal with somebody, got $25,000 worth of hard drive for $5,000 in exchange for $5,000 in associate producer credit. So you really have to vet people. Another big one is know the difference between 1099 and W-2 employees.
Kim is applauding.
Right?
Kim, you're applauding. That is a huge, say it again. Say it one more time for the people in the back.
The difference between 1099 and W-2. When you get your insurance, okay, they will tell you, we don't cover 1099 employees. This insurance is only for W-2. And let's say you have 95% of your crew is 1099. Guess what? Somebody gets hurt. Now you need $100,000. Guess what? Insurance is not going to cover you. And so many producers don't understand that. And you don't want to find that out in the middle of a production. It's a disaster. So I could go on, but these are two major.
They should do payroll company? Is that what they should do instead?
Yeah, so typically you get your insurance through your payroll company. You could use different. Revolution is the one I'm really fond of. I don't want to take the name of the one I didn't. But when you do your payroll, you can get insurance through them. But they tell you, read the contracts. It says we only cover W-2 employees. And a lot of people, like my DP, for example, he was a loan-out company. So he had an LLC. He wanted me to pay his LLC. Now, he's not covered under the insurance. But most producers, line producers, don't know that. So they just sign the thing, and then somebody gets hurt, and now you're in trouble.
Go ahead.
And start an LLC before you get into this. Have a lawyer, get your paperwork put together before you shoot, and get the insurance. There's also interesting things about a 1099 to a loan out for a DP. You might be able to negotiate that. You're not paying payroll taxes on a 1099, but you might not get covered on the insurance. So gauge which makes more sense for you.
Number one rule, create an LLC before you do anything. Because most people, I literally, we were talking about this line producer started a movie, took out $200,000 from the budget, paid himself, and I ghost produce a lot, so I come in and handle everything, but I don't want my name on the movie for certain reasons, right? So of course, he's getting sued now, but you create an LLC, the funds go in the LLC, or if you're a writer, create an LLC, so when you're doing the deal with the producer, that deals happen between your LLC and their LLC. So, and if you don't know, find somebody who knows, and they'll walk you through it. A good entertainment attorney is worth their salt.
You completely just teed this up for me. I was going to add to that, if you want to know things like how to form an LLC, about life rights, about intellectual property, copyright law, we actually did have a panel on entertainment law here that we filmed just like the one we're doing today. That is on YouTube. It's on our website. You can go through and learn all of that legal stuff, soup to nuts, by a panel of entertainment lawyers that live here in town. So we're gonna pivot now into a topic that I know nothing about, like at all. So I'm going to be learning along with you in real time, and it's going to be a little bit of the JD show, but everyone's going to chime in. But this section is going to have to do with distribution and financing. People come into the film office and ask us all the time. We don't know how to get your film financed or distributed, nor do we know how to raise money to make your film. Our job is when you have the money and you need help with a permit or how to do such a thing. So, JD, what does a sales agent do, and how does that differ from a distributor?
That's a very good question.
I don't understand.
Yeah, and by the way, I didn't answer the previous question.
Sorry, go for it.
Because I don't do much physical production, but I would say like it's a very simple answer. The worst thing is like people behaving badly. When you have a production with a star, with someone who knows that there is value in the film because of themselves, they can be they can have a really big inflated ego, and they can be very difficult to manage. So any horror stories I ever had to not directly deal with, but I was part of the mix because it's the money you raise that's going to finance the film. It's because there's some human issues and some people being badly treated or refusing to do things they should be doing contractually, and also having health issues during the production. So yeah, that was my answer on the previous question. Sales agent. So you come to me with a movie. That's pretty much the question, and the difference with being a distributor. Okay. So you have a movie that's completed. We're going to make it simple. Maybe it's not fully completed, but let's say that you have a movie, and you're going to need a sales agent to go out there because you want to sell it domestically in the US and you want to sell it to the rest of the world. So you need to usually reach out to sales agents you find out about on the internet, or you come to film festivals or film markets, major film markets that happen every year. And you try to get an appointment to present your film. You can send an email first with a trailer, with like a blurb, with the synopsis of what the movie is. And then we review it, and if I see something, and I usually know pretty fast if I get something interesting. I tend to read all my emails, and right away, like, if I see a little something that's interesting, I will reply. If you reach out to companies, and they don't get back to you, don't be sad or mad. You just like, acquisition people, inboxes, can have like thousands of emails every week. So it's like if we don't hear back, so usually not because they don't have the bandwidth, and it's probably something they're not interested in. So once, if I like something, I dig deeper, have a conversation, and pretty much what I have to decide in my head is like, can I sell it? Can I make money off it? Whether it's domestically, in international territories, and if I can help the filmmaker sell it, and there's enough money, so like, with my business model, it's worth my time, then I'm gonna license the rights of the film for worldwide or international rights, or domestic only. And the way it works is very simple. I take a cut of the sales of the movie, and I have a marketing budget that's negotiated with the filmmaker. So, for a certain amount of time, for like 2 years, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years. If I really like something, because it's love value in it and I could do a lot of sales, chances are that other sales agents want it. So I'm going to take my checkbook and I'm going to say, hey, what if I advance you $100,000 because I know I'm going to easily recoup that money, but like the competition is going to offer 200, and that's how you can get some money up front that's guaranteed, and you don't have to wait for sales to get the money from the sales agent. Distributor, so the sales agents, it's like good sales agents have a marketing budget. They have a team. They spend money for selling your film. They travel. They go to Cannes, to Berlin, which is next week. They go to the American film market, to Toronto in September. They can go out there and meet with distributors face to face, because that's the human aspect is still super important. Where was I? So that's you want to work with a sales agent that's not just behind a phone and doesn't really go travel and meet distributors on their turf. So that's what a sales agent do. So I was going to say, it can be seen as a middleman. Yeah, they take a cut of your movie because they have the relationship, and that's true too. But they have to do the work to really do a good job. A distributor really distributes the film, meaning that they are the ones who deal directly with the platforms, with the TV stations, even though it's kind of an antiquated concept because you don't get that many TV sales these days, that have a Blu-ray manufacturer, if the movie is worth of being distributed on Blu-ray. They really do the work of distribution, and they have a PR company they hire, or internal PR, so they can get the word out and get some reviews. They do like a work that's less seen as being a middleman, just doing the sales, closing the deals, and do actually like more of the work to distribute your film. Is that clear?
It is, but my next question, and this is an organically happening because I have a follow-up question. I'm sure they do, filmmakers sell their film without the sales agent? I mean, they can self-distribute, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
Yes. Sometimes you have a terrible sales agent and then you have to do it yourself. So yes, this happens all the time. I cannot count how many filmmakers I know who have major, and I'm talking major agency representation, who end up doing the deal themselves, and then it says in the press release, done by X giant agency. So yes, this happens all the time, which means that, what's the object lesson there? Build relationships with distributors yourself. That doesn't mean try to sell them your film all the time, but be friendly with people, build these relationships, because you never know where something can lead.
Can I say something, Seb?
Sure.
I'm one of those guys. We had UTA, one of the top 3 agencies representing Trees of Peace, right? And I dealt with everybody, every company out there through UTA, spoke to them. They're not terrible sales agents. It's just if you don't have stars in your movie, there's only so much a sales agent can do. The guy who represented us, very nice guy, he literally sent it out to everybody and he tried. Ultimately, even Netflix turned us down. Ultimately, I sold the movie personally to the CEO of Netflix through my relationship. And what I'm getting at is this, that people, people say, I'm trying to be politically correct here. People say, these agents are jerks, Well, an agent's job is to look out for that actor. You're a first-time director. He's not going to let his actor, who's an upward trajectory, act in your movie, and if the movie bombs, his market goes down. So a sales agent can only do so. If my movie has Tom Cruise, every sales agent can represent my movie. But if my movie has a bunch of unknown stars in it, it's a hard sell for them. So for example, my movie, it was about 4 women surviving the genocide in Rwanda. Everybody told me it would never sell. And they're not lying. Most people can't sell that, whereas he can go out and sell a horror movie or a thriller or action a lot easier, right? But having said that, our movie was financially very successful. And talking about distribution, Netflix is a distribution company. Amazon is a distribution company. I have actually helped people, taught them how to self-distribute the movie. Now, JD might not be able to take your movie on, but you can actually go to Amazon Direct and actually put the movie on there. And there's other sites I can talk about where they will take 20% cut. They will go to the aggregators. They're an aggregator, but they'll put it out there, right? And a lot of the time, JD can't take on your movie, or another sales agent can't take on your movie because it doesn't fit what their parameters are. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you can actually, I tell people all the time, go make a movie for $50,000 and then spend another $50,000 on Instagram and Facebook to drive people to Tubi, for example, and get the part of the ad share revenue. And that's one way to make money.
Can I jump in there real quick? I mean, basically, what you're saying is because you understood your movie and you had a sense of imagination about what your movie can do, you can make that sales pitch to the CEO of Netflix, who you have a warm rapport with, and you can pitch the movie in a different way than a sales agent. You're right. If you have Tom Cruise in your movie, anybody can sell that movie because you have Tom Cruise and that's dollar signs. But not everybody is trained to think creatively about a film that they don't know what to do with, right? Like a movie with like a no-name cast, for example,
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say, being friends with the head of Netflix is, kind of unique.
I wasn't
It's a
friends
target
with him.
audience.
I
I'm
built
just-
the
yeah, yeah.
relationship. What I'm saying is, I was very resourceful, and I built the relationship. I didn't know him before Trees of Peace. So the biggest thing is that what he's saying is absolutely right. Nobody's going to champion your movie more than you. Nobody's going to have more passion, more clarity. Look, end of the day, if he's charging 10 or 20%, he has to make money for himself, right? And if your movie doesn't fit in a box, right, he has to choose. Doesn't make him a bad guy. He just can't. But you can go, hey, my movie is in this niche. I'm going to go here. I'm going to make the movie for 50 grand. Then I'm going to take 50 grand and do YouTube and Instagram target marketing and tell people, hey, go watch my movie for free. Chances are you'll make at least 100, 150,000 back. At least you have a shot. And, go ahead, Judy.
No, I was going to say, I understand the idea of like self-distributing. I'm not a big fan, but domestically it can work. Like, you have some connections and you go sell it to a small independent or a big independent, you can get lucky. But when it comes to internationally, you cannot do that as a filmmaker. You don't have the bandwidth. You cannot be like, hey, I'm going to call like 5 distributors in Germany and tomorrow 5 distributors in the UK. And because you can do that, you can reach out to them. They're probably not going to take your call. And then you don't really know who they are. And I know the ones who pay on time, who pay at all, the ones who pay on time, the ones who are crooks, the ones who are going through financial difficulties. And some of them I count as my friend. Like we talk about
We know
soccer.
too. We know that same information we're in our office. Just.
So anyway, you do need a sales agent for that reason because you cannot be everything.
Maybe bring a sales agent on as early as possible so you're getting guidance even through the casting process and the picking of a script. Again, it gets back to what is the market buying currently. Relationships matter too. If I can call you and ask about a certain type of movie and you like it and we're working together, I might get projections or estimates on what this genre with this actor is worth, which might help you go back to investors and make them feel more comfortable.
Sav, you had one more thing to add?
Yeah, I just want to say the thing that makes your job hard, JD, is that basically a lot of places have stopped buying independent films, right? Which makes your job infinitely harder when sales agents have years of films that are backlogged on their slate from like Sundance 2020 that still have not sold.
Can I add one thing to what you're saying? The MG, talk about the MG.
Yeah, so an MG, for anybody who doesn't know, is a minimum guarantee. A minimum guarantee might be the only money that you ever see for the sale of your film. AKA, you know, if JD is the sales agent and gets, let's say, Giant Pictures to license the film for 7 years, and they want to pay $25,000, you have to recognize that from that sale, that $25,000 might be all you are ever guaranteed off of that 7-year term. And so basically what has happened, though, is that after the pandemic hit the United States, and the streaming bubble burst, and for context, this is what the streaming bubble bursting means, is that basically 10-ish years ago, like a bunch of big tech money infiltrated the entertainment industry and said, hey, we're gonna buy a bunch of stuff, we're gonna greenlight a bunch of TV shows because we want original content for our streaming services. So Netflix, Hulu, think of all of the streaming services that you now pay more money for than when you paid for cable, right? This is, they all decided after the pandemic and during the writer's strike, specifically in 2023, that they were done buying virtually anything, which means that sales agents have a really tough job right now because nobody wanted to buy their independent darlings from the past few years. So here's a perfect example. Sundance 2023, the grand jury prize winner for documentary was Going to Mars, the Nikki Giovanni story. It won the grand jury prize at Sundance, and it took 8 months to ink a deal with HBO Docs. When you win the grand jury prize at Sundance, you are an Oscar frontrunner for the most part. And that is an example of how broken down the system is when basically the model went from acquisitions being a huge priority to studios and streamers to basically becoming 80% commissions, meaning that they are commissioning a work from the beginning and only 20% of their slate becomes acquisitions. So it screws over sales agents, it screws over independent filmmakers, and it means that people are stuck with all these beautiful films and nowhere to go but to independently distribute. And that is the ill of the acquisitions business that we're all feeling right now because nobody wants to buy anything, at least here in the United States. I can't speak for worldwide, but that's what's happening here in the United States. JD, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it has been for the last few years from my perspective.
Oh, no, we're going for a tough time, yeah. The last 2-3 years have been rough. One thing to rebound also on the role of the sales agent, because you were talking about some distributors having done a lot of deals, year after year with U.S. distributors, and talking about MG. That's all the money you're ever going to see. I can name, I'm not going to name them actually, but I know 4 or 5 U.S. distributors I would want to go to because they've paid me quarterly royalties on movies that I've worked.
Right.
So some of them, pay royalties. Some of them you have to cap. Make sure you cap they cap the expenses on the contracts.
Yes.
You have to chase for royalties. You have to, if you're a sales agent that's moderately successful, they'd want your next movie, so they're gonna play nice. It's the leverage.
Yes.
And what else? Or some of them will just give you a lot of money up front, which is going to help you recoup the film, and maybe you won't ever see anything after that through creative accounting, but that's fine because you already recouped, so I've already made money, and then you go on to make your next film. After that, sales agents who are not very honest, or distributors who are not very honest, it's just like real estate agent or car sales.
Right.
You got some good ones, you got some bad ones. So do your homework. Go. Talk to other producers who've worked with so and so.
Yeah, we could talk all day about this.
Yes.
It's getting a little more complicated than I wanted to. But no, you're bringing up all great things. But if I'm lost, I'm guaranteeing that somebody out here is like, what is going on? I'm just going to reel it back into the audience that we have in-house.
Can I say something really simple?
Yes.
Just to give you an idea how extreme something can be. Trees Apiece was offered $5,000 MG from Gravitas.
We don't know what MG is, and I'm
minimum guarantee. So that's the only money you get up front, and then you don't know if you're going to get any money. I refused to give the movie. Then Paramount and Showtime came on board. They offered us $50,000 for a 3-year license, minimum guarantee. I already know my first 3 years is the window where I make the money. I refuse to sell the movie. So everybody said, well, you're not going to, even ETA said, you're not going to get more than this. I refused to sell it. And just to give you how extreme things are, we sold the movie for a 7-figure plus MG. So that's how broad it's people's perception. Somebody thinks your movie's worth $5, somebody thinks it's worth $1 million, right? It's, you know what it's worth, and if you know how to go out there and market it, then, or find a way, if, that's what I'm saying is that independent filmmakers really need to understand the word minimum guarantee, because if they think, okay, I'll get 5,000 now and I'll recover my 100,000 later. Well, 95% of the time, you'll never see a penny after that, because marketing expenses and all these expenses wipe it out. So understand the business.
I know, I get what you're saying. I just think that the audience here is not, I mean, I could be wrong. There could be some people out there that are like ready to sell their movie to Netflix, but I want to bring it back to, our independent community and just sort of like defining these things. And so, yes, I had, we want to do here about Trees of Peace and what your process was. And I do want to get into your process with Chasing Amy, but before we pivot to those things, I want to go back to, you guys brought up several different things that I have on my card that I'm going to go back now, which is so great. One of them was someone here mentioned film festivals. I think you did. I want to know, we all, I think, want to know what the role of a film festival is when you're talking about distribution. What is the role of a film festival?
I can talk about that. So I'm somebody who has a career thanks to film festivals. The best thing about film festivals is that you are using their platform to introduce your film to a potential audience. So, for example, when you premiere your film at Tribeca, right? Tribeca has worked for years to cultivate a loyal audience that comes by every single year. You can get publicity from that. You get to have your own coming out party, so to speak, and you get to be in community with other filmmakers and people who are really passionate about cinema. So you get to connect with the curators of the festival, the publicists who are there, the audience members, your fellow filmmakers. These are opportunities to build community, to introduce your project to the world, and to make a strong impression. An audience is necessary for the cinematic experience to work, and so I couldn't recommend film festivals more. There's a lot of layers, there's a lot of politics, it can be expensive to submit to, but film festivals are great for building community, which you need as a filmmaker, because filmmaking and life are both team sports.
I echo that, ditto. Networking, go to panel discussions and learn the things that you're not familiar with, and get involved, and go to a lot of different festivals if you can. And
The ones that are in Nevada.
yeah. And see what, some are very specific genres, or some are just short films, and you're going to learn a lot about that. But to your question of what is the role of the festival, I like your answer on the platform part of it. This is exposure for your film, and I honestly just do a short film first, and you could be shortlisted for Oscars on a short film, and start your career that way. And that's where the festivals are very important. There are some action B movies with whatever action star in it that do not need a festival, because they've already been bought by JD or whoever, right? He's selling that film. He's like, I don't care if it's at a festival. I'm not putting you on the spot, but know what that is for. Festivals are a lot of times celebrating the artistic side of it.
That's what I wanted to get at. I know I hear a lot of people say, I have my film and it's made and we're doing the festival circuit. So I just wanted to have you explain why that is a valuable thing to do with your film when it is finished, is to get it out there, and get the exposure for the audience. The next question, I think JD and Kirk, I want to know what trends are you seeing right now in terms of what's marketable and what's sellable right now. I know you guys are sort of talking around it, but is it horror films? Is it, Christmas movies? What are you seeing right now?
It is, and it's always been action movies, because they translate best worldwide. Whichever country in the world, there's no dialogue, there's no funny stuff, there's no just action, as much money on the screen as possible. We've seen that in the US with the Marvel movies, or the Fast and Furious franchise and everything else. Other trends, we can talk about the US. frankly, because of AVOD and platforms like Tubi,
That's my follow-up question. What is TVOD, AVOD, SVOD? Go ahead with the acronyms. What are those
in
things?
the US, let's talk about the US, urban movies, because the urban community is not, doesn't get enough content. Westerns. Like, you guys have a Western? I want to talk to you.
We can film it here in Nevada. We want to talk to you.
Horror movies, too many horror movies. They're easy to make. Everybody makes a horror movie. So whenever someone tells you they have a horror movie, it has to be really top-notch, like really good quality, really good filmmaking, and a very, very good, strong hook. When it comes to dramas and comedies or romantic comedies, that's really in my wheelhouse. But let's say a romantic comedy that, it's not going to be my first choice. If there's a really strong hook, I'm going to be interested. I'm going to be like, wow, that's a cool story. I want to see that. And outside of action, sci-fi is always good. World War II is usually a winner worldwide. People can never get enough of World War II. What else? I feel like a fantasy, but it has to be really well made, like, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, even if it's a lower budgeted version of those stories, always works. Faith-based, yeah. And I'm not really good at that.
That's in Kirk's wheelhouse, right? You did some faith-based and some other holiday things. Want to talk about? First of all, talk about that. But then someone please explain to the room what is VOD, AVOD, all those things you keep mentioning that is a platform. I had to look them up. I just want you to explain what they are.
There's so many platforms now. JD's right. Worldwide, there's certain things that trend. What I'm noticing is good storytelling still matters as well. And look at A24. When I say that name, and if you don't know it, you can just Google it, but you'll go, oh yeah, they make that type of film. They're very auteuristic focused. They're focused on the artist. When you look at the platforms, Tubi is a lot of urban content. So when you look at the buyer and see what they're buying, then you can eliminate who not to go to.
What type of platform is Tubi?
Tubi is
what I'm getting at. What is it?
AVOD, advertising video on demand.
And it's a fast also. It's a high.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the difference between TVOD, AVOD, SVOD? What are all the things that everyone keeps saying?
I'll try one and then we'll go back and forth. We'll ping pong it. Transactional video on demand. That's where you're paying a fee to watch this pay-per-view.
Basically, when you're in a hotel room, when you pay $20, that's TVOD. SVOD is Netflix, Amazon, where you pay a monthly $20 fee, subscription-based video model, right?
Subscription video on demand.
Video on demand. And then you want to...
TV on demand, was it TVOD?
Let me try one that's easier. DVD.
Transactional.
So how do the filmmakers, I mean, is this part of, this is where I'm confused, are these platforms an avenue for these filmmakers to get their movies on? Like, what do you call it? Is that self-distribution? Is that aggregator? What is it called when you want to get your film on Amazon?
Okay,
what is that called?
You can self-distribute to Amazon Direct, or I could take the movie to JD, and JD could go through and put it on Amazon as well.
So that
right?
process is called what? Aggregator? Aggregating? What is it called?
Yeah, that's called aggregator. Like, he would take it to an aggregator, and Amazon is a SVOD typically, but they also do transactional because you can pay $9.99 to watch the new movie. Now, the new thing that's coming up is FAST, right? So just today, the news came out, Tony Robbins is doing a channel. So it's like a TV guide. You go there, and there's different motivational stuff in there. You don't get to choose what you want. You can pick the channel and watch it, and you just have to watch ads. So that's FAST. And then...
We're back to regular TV, the way it was when I grew up.
Essentially, yeah.
Cable channel 13 or whatever, right? 5.
But as an independent filmmaker, you can literally gear your movie towards Tubi, and that's actually a viable model. There's producers out there, they make these $100,000 genre pieces, or just for example, African-American audiences, right? And they go straight to Tubi. Tubi might give them a little bit of money, or they do the ad share revenue, which is AVOD, advertising based. They share the ad revenue.
And YouTube, at AFM this year, I was talking to a distributor who carves out YouTube specifically, and he's like, I'm making more money on that than I am on Netflix.
I've heard that. I feel like YouTube, based on what Sav said earlier about no one's buying, no one wants to pay this and that, people are going to YouTube to consume that content because it's cheap and it's free and the kids are done with it. They don't want to pay, raise the subscription fees or whatever.
There's
talking
hope
about
for short films to eventually make money.
Yeah, just
So
talking about the
YouTube's-
market real quick. Just
YouTube started a new thing. It's a YouTube channel. So you can create your own TV channel and you can put it on YouTube. So let's say you want to create like a sitcom for yourself, right? You can create your own TV channel within YouTube and monetize it with ads.
there
So
you
that
go.
just started recently.
There you go. I want to talk about the film markets. You just mentioned AFM, JD's mentioning Berlin, Marche du Film, and Cannes. How does someone pitch you? How do they get in front of you at a market? What is that like? Can this crowd just go to, and try to make an appointment with you at AFM? What does that look like? And to the other panelists, what have you done in the past at markets? Have you had any success, or do you have any advice for people? Can anyone have access to you at AFM?
Somewhat, yeah. So basically, we go to film markets, the big ones, like you were saying. The one in Berlin, which was very similar to AFM in Las Vegas a few months ago. Usually 5-6 days where we speed date, meaning that I'm there at my desk with my TV, my remote control, my flyers, and I talk to, for the duration of market, let's say like 100 plus buyers, tell them about the movie, try to send them screening links so they can watch it, they can make me an offer, I can close deals. And the first 3-4 days are jam-packed. So if you have a movie, there can be a larger company with like 5-6 executives. There's a person dedicated to acquisitions, but I acquire what I sell. So I handle my own acquisitions. So you can take a meeting early, but I will suggest that you come on the tail end of the market, because usually people will be like, we don't have time to see you. We're here to sell what we already have. So be humble, be nice, try to make an appointment.
What do you look for in projects that are pitched to you besides them being nice and humble? What are
something
things
I
that
can
you look
sell.
for?
Something I can sell. Yeah, but at least I like to give advice. When people bring me something where I feel they're presenting really badly, I like to say look, this looks nice, but I'll take an example. If you're, a first-time producer, you're gonna try to do your own artwork, and it's usually not very pretty. So try to get a graphic designer to do something that looks like a real poster, for example. Tell me you come by, have 5 minutes between meetings, and I'll be like, do you have a trailer, a 1-minute thing on your iPad? I'll be like, yeah. I was like, okay, show it to me now. And they show it to me, and I look at it within 10 seconds, and be like, okay, that's interesting. You know what? That's not for me. They will ask me do you know anybody I should talk to? Maybe I'll tell them, well, my buddy who specializes in this type of content, that's on the 3rd floor, or, just look him up.
So you are open to our audience coming. It's thinking I have access to you and they approach it in the right way. So I just wanted to make that point. Thank you also for being so supportive of AFM being in Las Vegas, and you're probably one of the only people that were supportive of it, but we do appreciate you saying the nice things that you said while it was here. I want to touch upon the importance of having a strategy for marketing and distribution. I think, Kirk, you spoke about this the other day where, is getting into Sundance a strategy? Or you're going to make the film and then what? You're going to do what? What are you going to go to the film festival? What is your whole soup to nuts strategy on, having a vision and then bringing that vision to the audience, and why you have to pre-plan all of those things?
Yeah, you should know who your ideal audience is before you make your film. You should know how to speak to the theme of your film and the arc of your character and the specific platform you would like to be on. Have a vision in mind. And yeah, don't expect a distributor to come in and do marketing for you. If they do, great, but you should have a plan and design that plan and your film around that. A lot of it is marketing. You'll hear some movies will spend 5 times more on marketing than they did the production budget. And so this is a game.
That's something they need to budget in up front. Like when you're going through your pre-production and your, line items, you need to budget in marketing, right, as part of the strategy.
I think we talked about this on the Zoom call the other day, but our if you're paying your director of photography, you're paying your editor, you're paying the catering person, why not put money in the budget for marketing and hire a great
Film
marketing?
festival fees and
Yeah, a
marketplaces.
publicist. This is your business, and you should be the one that finishes the product all the way to the end, including ROI, return on investment. If you get any, you should always be involved in that. So don't discount the marketing side and expect someone else to do that. This is your vision. You should actually have a marketing and no bad ideas. Just brainstorm with your team all the great ways that you're going to get this out to the market when you're ready.
I think, Ron, you touched upon it with the social media and the Instagram and that whole strategy of, how much is it to boost an ad on Instagram, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I don't
it's,
know.
look, I wanted to add something to what he said earlier. Two most important thing is your trailer and your key art, which is your poster. It's the most important because when you approach, he has 5 minutes, he wants to look at the trailer, he wants to look at the thing, and that gets his attention. Okay, I'll watch your movie. So don't skimp on that. Most people, they make this movie and they run out of money and they make this terrible homemade poster, and now nobody wants to see the movie because the poster screams I'm low budget, right? So most independent filmmakers, they don't plan for distribution and they don't plan for marketing. It's not in their budget.
How do they plan? Do you have any guidelines on how to pad that, or what that looks like in terms of, tell us about how they should do that? What's the formula for it?
Well, I mean, one thing is you need to have a budget for, this is what I'm gonna, just to give you an idea, Crash was made for $3 million. The marketing budget was $18 million. It won an Oscar.
Let's bring it
right?
down to, we have a $5,000 film. We have
Okay.
a $5,000 to $10,000 micro budget indie.
Okay, so recently there was a movie made called Jatika, which was made for $10,000, got in South by Southwest. It's on Tubi now, right? He himself created the artwork, which looks really professional, and he submitted to South by Southwest. He got in. He was an unknown person, and the movie's actually pretty decent. It was made for $10,000. I know he's made his money, right? He didn't really have much of a marketing budget when I spoke to him, but that's most independent filmmakers. They don't know much about it, but you have to plan. If your budget is $5,000, then you probably need at least $2,500 for marketing.
So we talked about this earlier. This is a film business, right? So there is an actual business side to this industry, which is the strategy, the marketing, the finance, and maybe, we were talking earlier, maybe it's not your strong suit. I hate numbers. I hate budgets. I'm a marketing gal. I like to get the buzz. I like to create the promotion. So, find people on your team or find partners that do that for you. And then I think you have a really unique story, Sav, in terms of, you watched this film, you were able to get on a TED Talk, and then, everyone's experience is different. So talk about, your success story with Chasing Amy.
Yeah, I mean, so as I said at the beginning, I saw Chasing Amy. It left a huge impression on me. Fast forward about 10 years, and I had the opportunity to give a TED Talk about what Chasing Amy meant to me. And so when I was growing up, I was a kid who had a stammer, and I never thought that I would be a public speaker. When the opportunity arose, all I could think of was, this is an incredible way to introduce this very specific concept for a film to the world. Because the logline for Chasing Amy is that I'm coming of age against the backdrop of Kevin Smith's Chasing Amy for the second time as I'm making a documentary about its legacy. And so for context, Chasing Amy was very controversial within the LGBTQ community because it depicted a lesbian falling in love with Ben Affleck's character and about their ensuing friendship and romantic relationship. And so in 1997, when this film came out, it had a very complex legacy in that it was depicted, it was seen as both progressive, regressive, depicting bisexual people, depicting lesbian erasure, and it was all done by Kevin Smith, who is a straight, white, cisgender man.
I think I'm talking more about your pathway in
terms
of you had the TED Talk, and then what happened from there in terms of financing and
I'm just explaining for anybody who doesn't know what Chasing Amy is. And so that's the controversy. That's how we were able to get people in, was we were talking about a film that already had an existing fan base, and we were exploring the controversy of it. And so within an hour of the TED Talk being online, Kevin Smith had seen it and had already shared it. which gave us.
It was amazing that you got all those people attached. You know, as I was watching it the other day, I'm like, that's crazy. Now you're talking to the director and the talent that was in the film, and here
Yeah.
you are, your documentary from
And I
Kansas
was
City,
a kid
or-
who had no connections, but I made a really strong first impression with the TED Talk, which is why, like, my advice is always, like, find a unique way to tell the short version of your story so that you can get people's attention. Without the TED Talk, I don't think things would have happened in the way that they happened. And so for us, we had captured this lightning in a bottle. We had had these really specific experiences on set. We had made this movie that was incredibly specific, 92 minutes, had a built-in fan base, and was really touching and personal and queer. And so we knew exactly who our audience was, which was 3 concentric circles.
Fantastic film. Where can they see it if they want to see it now?
You can watch it everywhere. We are in our, as we've learned today, we are in our TVOD window, aka transactional VOD. You can also watch it for free on Canopy and Hoopla if you have a library card, which you can get here at the library.
Free. Library cards are free.
So-
shout out to the library.
So the strategy that we employed, though, was traditional press. We knew that because we had Kevin Smith attached and we had this incredible interview with Joey Lauren Adams, that we could get really strong press. And so when the Tribeca announcement came out, we had hired a publicist to help us. And so our trailer dropped in Entertainment Weekly. We were building buzz through traditional press where our audience lived. Our queer audience, our Gen X audience that loved Kevin Smith, and also cinephiles. Those were our 3 different audiences.
What year did this come out? The movie, you made it in what year?
We released it at Tribeca in 2023. We came out in theaters last year.
And we met in 2022.
Yes.
So in this timeline, when Sav came by to, I think we were, I don't know, AFM in LA, was it? It must have been.
Yes.
You came by and said, I moved to Nevada, this, that, and the other. And in this timeline, I hadn't seen Sav since. This whole thing happened. Movie blows up, the TED Talk, it's all over the place, gets awards left and right, it's in Tribeca, and here we are again today, like a full circle moment. So the point is, everyone's journey is different, and sometimes it takes 10 years, sometimes, people are always frustrated about, when am I gonna hit, when am I gonna hit? I just wanted to, we'll leave with some last minute advice. I do want to talk to Ron really quickly about, it's not every day that you meet someone that's just like, I have a movie that I produced on Netflix, and it's amazing, and it had all this worldwide, received really well at the film festivals and things like that. So how did this fall in your lap? Was it a relationship thing? Was it just a coincidence?
I was actually writing something to direct. I already had financing sitting there. And I met the director on Instagram. And my wife and I, we read over 4,000
So
scripts.
you did slide in the DMs in. So that's
I
not
did
unusual.
slide into her
Okay.
DM.
Then you can do
And
it.
I said, hey, I'm a producer, but
And
please talk to
look
my
what
wife
happened.
first. I'm a real producer, not one of those guys. So yeah, I was going to hire her to write something. And she said, hey, I have this movie I've been trying to make for 7 years, 10 different producers were attached. Ben Affleck's company was attached at one time, but it keeps falling
You
out.
just took a chance. You just messaged somebody and took a chance, which
Right.
is
Well,
great.
I didn't intend to produce the movie, but when I read the script and everybody kept telling me nobody would watch it because it has only women in it, it really kind of made me upset because I don't watch a movie just because it has all men in it. I watch great films.
Thank you.
So
We appreciate that.
Michelle and I wanted to champion a first-time female black director, and it was all first-time actresses. And it really blew up. After everybody told us not to make the movie, which I took my directorial debut funding, put it in because nobody would fund it. And it was top 10 in 60 countries within I think 10 days of release. And it was number 9 in America, which was incredible because other 8 movies were like $250 million, $200 million movies. And now she just finished directing a $15 million movie. Tyler Perry produced it.
Yeah, she's with Tyler Perry
distribution,
now.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to illustrate everyone's journey is different. Kirk, what is your story? How did you started off as an actor, how many years ago?
30.
30 years ago. And when did you hit your first, let's say, film that was streaming or, something that you would consider your big first success story in film? Like it didn't, my point is a lot of people, I think,
Yeah.
they want to sit back and they say, well, I graduated with a film degree. Where's my jobs? Like, here I am. I'm a director now. Where's my movies? Where's my work? And it doesn't work like that. I've never done what you guys have done. But what I'm seeing is you have to be proactive. You can't just list in our production directory and ask me why you're not getting hired, or not list in the directory and ask why no one knows about you. So you there's a strategy. You have to put in some work. It's not just part of it. If you're lucky, yes, luck is amazing, but that doesn't pay the bills. So I guess what I'm asking you to tell the audience is, it's not just going to come to you. You have to send the DM,
Yep.
do the thing, make the TED Talk. What did you do?
Stay hungry, stay humble, always be learning. I think there's a Denzel Washington quote about failing up or building on your failures. Have the courage to go out and fail again and continue doing that, and you'll find success. I had a few different moments that I've been proud of in my career where I felt like it got to the next level. I think following the stories you want to tell. One time I did a documentary about my friend who was a refugee. Well, as a child, she came over from Kurdistan, Iraq, as a refugee, and she went on to a very successful career, worked at the White House. And in 2007, I asked her if I could, she was working at the White House for then President Bush. I said, could I do a documentary about you? And she said, under one condition, if you go to Iraq with me. And this is 2007.
Can you believe the people we're sitting on this panel with? I mean, they're talk about stay humble. They're like, oh, I made a movie with Condoleezza Rice. Like,
our movie premiere, well, I went to Iraq with her, and it had an amazing experience. 2 to 3 years later, when we finished the film, we had a premiere at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. to a sold-out crowd. And that movie is called American Hero, and the woman's name is Hero Mustafa. And she's
just look
now
up their IMDb's. You'll find all kinds of amazing things that they've done. So I just
So that
wanted
was a
to.
moment for me because that was a no-budget documentary, and I knew how to make a movie. I knew how to put it in the computer and shoot it, but we learned a lot about presentation, and that experience helped me get to a new
So
level.
it's a journey. It's not overnight. It's like, okay, I graduated. Where's my Sundance hit?
I just want to
Where's
add
my-
what he said. Denzel Washington said this: fail fast, fail often, fail as many as you can, as much as you can, because that's what got me ready to do mine. Same with him, all of us. It's the same story. You have to go out there and actually do it. There's no other way.
Work. Put in the work. You can't sit back and wait for it to happen. I have one more question, actually 2 more things, and then we're going to open it up to the audience for Q&A. I hear this a lot in the community, right? We're talking about filmmakers and making their films, and then we've been talking a lot about the filmmakers. Let's talk for a moment about the screenwriters, right? Are there any screenwriters out here? Right. Perfect. So this is the thing I want to demystify, if I could, from your perspective. What do you say to the screenwriters that say, I've got this next big thing. I've got this amazing script. It is awesome. Help me make it. I've got a script, but what next? You need to make it. I mean, right? And then there's the people that have the script and they want to pitch it, they want to option it, they want to sell it, but they also want to direct it. So at some point, it feels like if you're not a director and you're only a screenwriter, maybe you need to just step back and let the director do that. And so I think sometimes what I overhear is people just tripping up on themselves because they're so attached to what they think they can do or that they need to do. And I feel like if you could just explain, you have a great script, now what? Your script is optioned, now what?
Tell me why in under a minute, why this story, why you're passionate about it. Do the key art and hire a real graphic designer, someone who does posters for a living to show, and make a pitch deck, which is a very short 3 to 6 page overview of visual deck of what your movie's going to look like. But in under 1 minute, you should be able to tell us what the story is and why we should care. But to your point about the screenwriters, I do get this one a lot. They'll call me and say, I'm a writer, and now I just need a producer to find me the money. And I'm like, do you do your own root canals as well? Because it sounds like you've never produced or directed, or they're like, yeah, but no one's optioned my script yet. Nobody's bought my script from me yet. So I thought I'd just do it myself. Well, then maybe go to film school or do something else to learn, because what you're saying doesn't sound professional.
I have a script and I don't know what I'm doing. Buy my film and help me make it.
Give me money so that I can go figure it out. And I had one guy, back to your horror story thing, say, well, if you can raise me $5 million, then I could hire you to produce it for me. So I get, what an audition. I get to raise the money and go, if I'm going to raise money, I might just go make my own movie.
Yeah, you with no track record whatsoever, never only wrote your first script, the whole thing, and I'm going to take a chance on you, right? I'm not trying to kill anyone's dreams.
No.
I'm trying to just bring it down to a point of Just to be realistic and pragmatic about it, because I think people get in their own way with the ego, and I think they get, I've got the next big thing. This is going to be Oscar winning, and I love the passion, I love the pitch, I love everything about it, but at the end of the day, there's the reality of how this stuff happens.
I mean, for me, the most important thing is the screenplay. Without a great script, you cannot make a great movie. I don't care who you are. You give Spielberg a terrible script, he's going to make an average movie, right? So if you're a writer and you want to be a director, here's my advice to you. Go out and make some short films, because you have to show people you understand color palette, music, storytelling. If you can't, you have practically no chance of making it. And one of the things that's my biggest pet peeve is people come, they're very entitled. They walk into my house, I've never done anything, okay, I need, this is my $5 million script, what stars do you have attached? Oh, I don't need stars. And I say, please leave my
Like,
office.
hi, my name is Ron, nice to meet you. I mean, people do that all the time.
Please
Like,
leave my
hi,
office.
what's your name?
Yeah. So I mean, if you're a screenplay writer, first of all, I adore great writers. That's the most important thing. But if you want to be a director, go direct. Alana made one short film, but that one short film and a little trailer she made told me she has the goods. She knows what it takes to get the movie
I think
made.
that's what I'm getting at, is like they're so passionate about, I have this screenplay, but I need to produce it, I need to direct it, I need to act in it, I need to star in it, and it's like, you know what, I don't know how you're going to get that done. I don't know how you make that sale to somebody. I would, just stay with what you know, it feels like. Really quickly, the last thing, and I just want to end with this before the Q&A, pieces of advice for the filmmakers in the audience. What do you want to leave the audience with in terms of, we've heard a lot about it's a relationship business, the importance of networking, the importance of staying humble. What do you want to leave this audience with? Sav.
There's a lot of you in this room. I've said this on the panel before, and I'll keep saying it. Filmmaking is a team sport. If you don't know somebody, go up and say hi to them. Be kind. Don't just rush up to talk to us, though we would love to talk to you, but talk to each other. You are each other's first pathways into this industry, each other's first entry points. So make friends, make connections, see how you can genuinely be of service to one another.
Yeah, ask a lot of questions, be willing to learn, be patient, and ask yourself this, is this what I really want to do? Or was it a nice idea before I started learning, how the sausage was actually made? Because your true calling might be as an agent. Maybe you learn the business a little bit, and you're like, you know what, I could be an agent. And so be open to that, and life is short. Make the things you want to make with the people you want to make them with.
My advice would be, look, anything is possible if you're willing to work for it. Everybody's an overnight sensation, but they're not. It's 25 years, 30 years in the making. Each one of us have put in years. And the second part is this. Look, I hang out with a lot of A-list producer directors. I manage their money. Not one of them knew I was making trees apiece. I get to hang out on sets, watch how things are being done, $100 million sets, and learn and absorb, but I never ask them. Don't approach people that have already made it with, hey, can you do this for me? That's the quickest way to lose that relationship. So approach with, how can I help you? How can I be help to you? And get to know them. And nobody wants to be used, right? So treat people like the way you'd want to be treated if you were in their position. Those are my two advice.
JD?
So many. Present yourself like you can help yourself. You're not gonna expect, like we were saying earlier, that people are gonna hand it to you on a silver platter. Other thing, like film business is the worst business if you want to get rich quick. And I feel like a lot of people, even people who've done a few movies like in the last year, got 2 projects I ended up signing, and those filmmakers, they're a little young, but they're like, well, can you please tell us that that million we have is going to turn into 2 million? I'm like, no, absolutely not. And in the back of their minds, like, well, we don't know what you're going to, you don't know what we're going to deliver to you, and you'll see once it's done that you're going to get a multi-territorial deal. So try to be ambitious, but try to go slow and learn as you go. Stay close to people in the industry. I have a different experience myself because I got my foot in the door, so I've always been inside the industry and climbed my way up, instead of being a filmmaker with trying to make my movie and just go to festivals and network. I was already on the inside, and I'm really grateful because I got to learn from the inside. It's been a really, really great experience. And yeah, just, like I don't know was saying it, but like, yeah, just ask yourself, is it really what I want to do? Because once you're in it, like you have to, it cannot be a hobby. And I said that to a filmmaker recently, like, over the delivery of a movie, like, man, like it's not a hobby. And he got really offended. I was like, dude, you feel like you're going to deliver some elements, like the distributor's going to be like, okay, that's good enough. No, there's a lot of legalities, a lot of technical things, and you think you can just wing it, you're in the wrong business. So.
All good advice. We're gonna, I want you to tell us how would you like people to contact you?
I have a card in the lobby with my Seed and Spark email. You're also welcome to reach out through my website, savrodgers.com. There's a little contact form. Happy to talk to anybody.
Kirk?
Just come to my house, knock on the door.
For the Super Bowl this weekend, like stalk me every day.
There's barbecue in the back. LinkedIn, I like LinkedIn. It feels like that's the place. It's easy.
It's business, I get hit up there all day long, all the time. I might have even like asked you to be on the panel through LinkedIn, probably.
Yep.
Wrong.
This body's a temple. Take me to eat. No, I'm just kidding.
Buy
No, I'm just kidding.
after.
You can message me on Instagram or Facebook or even our website.
JD.
Blacktop, INTL, my email is on there. Blacktop International on Instagram, sorry. And yeah, shoot me an email. Shoot me an email. I'm going to be traveling.
But I want you to tell me if they're stalking you because I will cut it off.
I just don't respond. If you get started, just don't.
Awesome.
If you start, acting like an ex-girlfriend.
Don't make it weird.
Crazy ex-girlfriend with.
No, thank you so much for being here, you guys. Let's open it to Q&A. We've got Christy back there from our office. If you don't know Christy, she is operations locations at the film office, and you guys know Kim. So go ahead and
All right, we'll
pass
start
around.
over here.
This one's for Mr. Rodgers.
Hello?
Hello there. So I'm thinking of using Seed and Spark to crowdfund for my next film, and I've heard about it for years, but I understand there's a way of doing it where you can either give money or you can have people like put in for certain positions or gear. How exactly does that work?
Yeah, so one of the great things about Seed and Spark is that you can utilize the wish list feature for loans. So up to 40% of your crowdfunding goal can be fulfilled through loans. So let's say you're fundraising for $10,000 on Seed and Spark, $4,000 can be in-kind contributions. So let's say you need a camera package and somebody's willing to loan you that camera package and that's worth, let's say $2,000. And then somebody else is willing to put in $2,000 worth of catering for your crew. Then you have that $4,000 of your goal met, and you didn't have to actually have any money exchange hands, but you have the community support that you need, and you can raise the other $6,000 through cash. It's actually a really great feature that is really helpful in the crowdfunding space. I don't know of another crowdfunding website that does it. And if, by the way, Seed and Spark does monthly creator office hours twice a month. If you email me, I'll send you the link to register for our creator office hours, and we can answer all the questions you may have about crowdfunding, because we can literally sit here all day and talk about it.
We can post that on social media. Sav, if you like, we can post it on your behalf.
Absolutely.
If that's easy.
We would love that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sadia Caron. Is it more difficult to sell a union film internationally because we have all of the residuals and things, where a non-union film, it's easier perhaps to sell? That's my question in terms of the union.
Are you asking sales or pre-sales?
I don't know the difference.
I don't think it makes a difference, but usually union films are, bigger budgeted to film. So I would say that, they usually, but they can be like non-union films that sell really well. They have the right hook, the right quality. I think that's all. Yeah.
I don't think it matters. End of the day, if you have a great story, if it's going to resonate. Now, American drama is not necessarily going to sell very well in India, right? Or an Indian movie is not necessarily going to sell here. So you have to understand where the market is. But end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Hello, everyone. I'm SAG-AFTRA as well. I'm an actress. I don't mean to deviate too much from when it comes to filmmaking, but I was curious, when it comes to the selection for casting, do you prefer to deal with SAG-AFTRA or non-represented actors, and what sort of things do you look for when it comes to the final cast?
I'll take this one because we had one extra that was union, SAG, when we did Trees Apiece, but I chose to make the movie union because I thought our movie had real awards potential and also for profile. And we, none of our lead actresses were actually union. So, yeah, we only had one extra, but because, if you want to qualify for SAG Awards, you can't make a movie that's,
Those actresses in this film are amazing. I'm like blown away right now that you just said they were non-union. You got to see Trees Apiece.
Well, now they're
It's
union and now they're
amazing.
doing big
I'm
things.
sure, but
yeah.
at
Now
the-
they're
I
doing
mean-
big things, huge things.
Yeah, I think it's about the actor or actress. If they fit the role, we're going to go for it, and you can get them into SAG if you need to. So that's not that complicated. But I want to talk about the other part of your SAG question. Sometimes royalties are an issue, and so the distributors will likely put that back on the producer to have a reserve fund to handle those royalties.
But you can negotiate. I negotiated with Netflix and I had them handle it, right? So everything's up for negotiation. But it was really important for me to do the movie union, which most people in our budget wouldn't do that.
Hi there, my name is Steven. Thank you so much for this panel. It's been really informative. You guys all know your stuff. It's amazing. Hello again, Danette. Thank you, Kirk, for letting me know about it. My question is about vertical content. With all of these vertical apps popping up, all of like Reel Shorts and all of their competitors popping up, is this part of the conversation yet when it comes to an indie filmmaker and how they can actually make a living, or are we not there yet?
I can take that. So I recently met a gentleman named Adam Faze who runs a company called Gymnasium, and his whole thing is doing like unscripted, independent TV through vertical platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's a deliberate choice on his part. I mean, I think the beauty of independent filmmaking is like finding the medium that best suits the story you're trying to tell. And so for him, that's what suits the types of stories that he's trying to tell. He's basically doing TV shows, low budget. He's monetizing through views effectively and then getting brands to come in and sponsor the work because he is able to have that audience. He's found his audience, and so therefore he's been able to find ways to monetize it. That's all part of like the marketing, right? So, but if the way that you dream of your project is through, the traditional festival type of film, putting it on TikTok in pieces might not be the thing for you. So I say tailor your story to the medium that you want to tell it in. But if you want to experiment on there, you can be a trailblazer in some way. But it has to be the right story, the right time, and finding that right audience that's going to resonate with it. So I think back when like Vine was a thing, people would make like Vine series, like choose your own adventure types of things. That was a brilliant way to use that platform. So figure out like what is TikTok especially good at? What are the things that are rewarded on that platform, or Instagram Reels? And if you can tell a compelling story through that, you can really like get attention for your project. But again, it's the story first and centering that more than anything.
There's actually money to be made in that space, and a lot of people I know in Hollywood that are doing that. Just understand something that typically the acting's not that great, and if you're known for projects that are not that great, when you pitch your actual movie to an agent, try to get a named actor, they're not going to act in your movie. So there's a give and take on this, and that's a big thing in Hollywood, which is why I was really careful how we did things, or what kind of movies I make. When I ghost produce, I don't put my names on certain movies. They pay me six-figure, but I don't put my name on the movies because I don't want that on my IMDb. Because when I pitch a movie to Robert De Niro, his agent's going to literally go to my IMDb, goes, oh my God, he makes these vertical films or this, and then they don't take you seriously at that point. So that's a real issue.
So what I'm understanding is we're not quite past the stigma that this sort of quality issue for vertical content is kind of built for itself.
Yes, and I look at a lot of the vertical contents. There's a Chinese company that's actually making a lot of money. And they actually recently contacted me, and I was like, thank you, but I'll pass. But they're making a lot of money, but the acting's not good. And I don't want to be known for that. So, and there's nothing wrong with it. As a producer, if you make money and then you take the money and you go to the next level. It's just you have to decide what's right for you.
I think that's it. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.